So, you like Android phones and you missed that Huawei, I don't even know how you pronounce it, but you still miss their phones with Google Play services? Well, this phone might actually take care of that itch for you. It's the Honor X9 and it's pretty identical to Huawei phones, and it also has Google Play services. But there's a catch. And yes, this is actually a mid-range phone. It has 8 gigabytes of RAM. It has a Snapdragon 680, which is not the most recent processor. It's pretty decent for the price, which I will be talking about in a few seconds. But it also has an IPS panel with 90 Hz, which is not bad at all. It also has a fingerprint reader. It also has 4 cameras on the back on a module that looks pretty similar on what we saw on the Mate 40, but it's definitely not Mate 40 quality. We have a main sensor of 64 megapixels. We also have an ultra-wide lens of 8 megapixels and a depth sensor of 2 megapixels, as well as a macro lens also with 2 megapixels. So pretty much mid-range phone specs. But we also have a pretty nice fast charge, 66 watts. It's not the fastest because that's crazy. Nowadays we can find phones with 150 or more. But it's actually not the phone's fault because we can actually pick it up for about $300, which is pretty decent. So what's it like having a Huawei phone without it being a Huawei phone, but also having Google Play services? Well, it's actually pretty good. What you get out of the cameras is what you would expect out of a mid-range phone. Those 64 megapixels take decent pictures, but the catch is that the software is not actually as well developed as what Huawei used to do. And that's because Honor is a much smaller company than what Huawei actually is. I think they took about 8,000 employees from the 200,000 employees that Huawei actually has when they separated, because Honor used to be a sub-brand from Huawei. So that's the reason we can actually get these phones. As for the screen, it's not actually bleeding edge. It's only an IPS panel. It's not AMOLED, it's not OLED. It's only IPS, but it does have 90 Hz, which feel nice and actually give you a quite decent experience. As well as the fingerprint reader, which is actually pretty fast. It's not under the screen, it's on the side. Now, if you want to play games on the phone, well, the experience is quite mid to low. That's because of the Snapdragon 680. The experience is feeling quite outdated because it's not the most recent processor, especially for games. But there is a good thing about having a Snapdragon 680. It's not that power hungry. So the battery life is actually pretty good. You can get about a day and a half or even 2 depending on how much of a power user you are. But it also helps that the IPS panel doesn't use that much energy either. And it's also paired with a very fast charge of 66 watts. That fast charge gives you 0 to 80 in about 30 to 35 minutes, which is pretty good, especially for the price. So if you get an Honor X9, are you going to get a Huawei phone? Well, not really, because the software is not really as well developed as Huawei phones. But the experience is pretty decent and the price is pretty competitive for what you're paying and what you're getting. So I think for a lot of people, this might be a great option. What do you think? Would you have an Honor phone, which is not a Huawei phone, but has Google Play services, but is actually pretty similar to Huawei phones? Pretty confusing, right? But now you know the reason for that.